Trek Pro Micro V3V. That was tongue-tied. Ooh, those look like a skinny 3-stack adjustable pin. Can't wait to check this out. Hello and welcome back to the YouTube channel. MFJJ here with PodiumArcher.com. Checking out these sights that we just got the other day that they aren't even in stores for sale yet. Probably will be in a week or two, but this is the Trek Pro Micro 3V. Now, I haven't hardly reviewed any CBE product, and it's not a knock on CBE. I just didn't see anything in there that really jumped out at me. And we don't get asked for them a lot out here in the West. Not to say that that's a bad thing one way or another, or they don't make good product. They do. It's just not something we dealt with a lot. But a little bit ago, I saw that they were making this sight, so I reached out to them because I really wanted to see it. And they made sure that we had a couple before they started shipping. My largest gripe when it comes to vertical inline pins is bulkiness in the pin. And what I mean by that is there's a couple out there that are like big, like they cover up a lot of the target, even though the fiber is still the same diameter. And when I looked at this, it seemed relatively small, relatively light. Hadn't seen it in person, only saw it in pictures. But if you look at those, they are tiny. And that is very intriguing to me. I do like a small aperture and a small picture. It does look like it's got a little shade here. So in excessive brightness, right, this visual now dims it down. So if it's like noon and you're trying to shoot, you won't get that starring halo effect, which I actually just started noticing recently. I don't know if it's an age thing or whatnot, but they kind of flare out a little bit in really bright light that never used to affect me. This does have rail adjustment, it would appear, for your first axis. Got your second, third axis screws. Yep, so all three adjustments are there. The only thing that I don't see is an independent head adjustment for up and down. So you're going to have to kind of monkey with your starting point on this sight. And what I mean by that is you're not going to be able to max it out at one end, push it all the way to the end and have it be 20 yards. You're going to have to kind of adjust some things to make that work on this sight. So that's really the only thing that I'm missing here as far as really loving what I see. But in general, it's relatively light. I mean, most sights of this size that would have this many features are probably a bit heavier. And I'm trying to think on who has 3-pin vertical adjustable sights other than Spot Hog, where all the pins are in a line on a movable chassis. I'm drawing a blank. Is there anybody outside of CBE and Spot Hog you can think of? I don't think they do. So it's just a slimmer, leaner, cleaner version that probably weighs half of what a Fast Steady XL does. So this is pretty intriguing. I was just going to bolt it on this bow, take a look at your adjustments and fit them it, and call it a day. But these little bad boys, I think you're going to like this. But let's play with some of the adjustments here. Grab a wrench. Here we go. And this is just to see how our left to right fitment is on Matthews. Now see, this is kind of sloppy, but I think they make a Matthews specific bracket. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they do. Yeah, it's got a, I think it's a different mounting system, if I remember right. I'll have to look that up. But they do offer this in multiple pin configurations. They make this triple stack, oh, that's not the right word because that's a Spot Hog term, but a 3-pin vertical. They make a 2-pin vertical as well, but I think they're fixed pin in this 2-pin version. We'll have to check that out. Give me a second here. This is your direct mount version for just mounting on any old bow, and yeah, that's a fixed 2. So kind of like the Fast Steady double pins. They're predetermined and predetermined on your needle. So whatever the top one's on is 1 yardage, whatever the second one's on is another yardage. But once again, when you're looking at the physical weight of it, it's like half the weight. Time will tell on what the durability's like on that, but the movement's real snug. And one thing I do like about this stiffness, I'd be really surprised if you could use this sight, move it to a distance, not lock it down, shoot it and have it stay put. There's a couple of sites that do that and a couple of sites that don't, and I know it might seem silly or petty, but it is something that's kind of important to me, that it's tight enough that when you let go of it, it doesn't just fall every time you fire the bow. And what I mean by that is in a hunting scenario, if I'm running and gunning and I get up to the hill and I range, oh, it's 50 yards, move the sight to 50 yards, don't have to think about locking it down and just shoot it and actually expect it to stay there. And this does feel stiff enough that it should be able to do that, which is pretty cool. But yeah, so there are a lot of similarities between this and a Spot Hogg, but the weight difference is pretty drastic. And there must be a different bracket, because looking at this on a bridge lock, it's definitely going to need to be adjusted. Let me check something. Okay, after our station identification check, we ran down to the shop and found a bridge lock adaptable bar for hooking it on a Matthews, which replaces your carbon Trek Pro. There's a glued in inserted piece that you're screwing into inside that housing here. It goes in there, little screw down there, right? Yeah, you see that okay or not? But this screw or nut in that assembly looks like what goes in there in its place. So we'll screw it back together. This did appear to have, that must be a shorter screw, yep. Because this one had Loctite on it. So if we were going to leave this permanent, I would probably suggest Loctiting it, because it looks like that may be relevant. That longer? Yep. No longer? Yep. Just barely. So we'll see if this is enough to get some threadage. There it goes. Yep. Looks like about 4, which would be your minimum. And that offsets your assembly for going onto a Matthews, so it moves your sight over far enough. And that fitment's a lot better. It's still kind of loose, but at the end of the day, if you can screw it onto an indent and it lines up, you should be okay. And I can see the hole lined up through there, so it'll work. Not the tightest fit, and I would think if you're making a bridge lock just specifically for Matthews, you'd probably make that tolerance a little better, but whatever. See how our left right looks. So that's about right. So that will get you into the appropriate windage. Let's see how one of these bolts on a regular bow, but that does get it going. We'll take this off here and grab a Bowtech and use the direct mount one, see how that works. There, another one. Let's grab this. This one will have a screw package in here. Yep. There we go. So I can't emphasize enough, these are really light, and they do have metal sight tapes, which is a pretty cool feature that, oh, I'd say 20-25% of the sights have on them now. And so it's a pre-made laser etched yardage indicator, which is pretty sweet. Although I haven't played with those very much myself, so I'm not sure how accurate you're going to run into and how many different ones you may end up needing. And you may end up having to buy a different one than it came with it, I would imagine. But let's just take a look here. See how all our adjustments work. Now, this is the dual pin with fixed pin on them. Once again, they are really light. Like, they have shaved a lot of weight out of some of the sights compared to others, which is nice. I mean, at the end of the day, you're still trying to make your bow weigh hopefully as little as possible for the most part. Let's get that there. There you go. Okay. And that looks level, but let's check. Ooh. It's in my case, hang on. My emergency kit for redding, which came in very handy. There it is. Check our rail here. Now I know this was not what the level was intended for. There's a string groove spot in there, but it actually works really nice on a narrow rail to get it good and flat. All right, so that's a little different. So let's try to adjust that out. That looks good there. So that's your first axis. And let's do number 2. Next one up. Yeah, there we go. Now your third axis is going to be a real difficult one because you really need to actually shoot the bow to adjust it. But where it's positioned, you can still get at it really easy with a standard Allen wrench. So I got to give them an A+ for actually making your adjustments where a human being can get at them without anything funky. Frequently when you get these sights, especially more fancy stuff that's got more adjustments and more range, it's like an afterthought when they're thinking about where are you putting the screws to access these things and move them. And both of these were very simple, or all three, here, here, and here. Super easy to get set. Left to right wise, that's almost right down the pipe as far as starting, so you have more than enough adjustment. And on these, see if you can come close here, they have a coarse adjustment and a micro adjustment. So this is for a more crude, large windage adjustment. So you loosen that, and it's just on a square dowel, which is also nice because then it can't get off from being square to the base. Cool feature there. And then that's your lockdown for micro windage, left and right. If these sights hold up, which I don't have any reason to believe they won't, other than they're very light, they're going to be really nice. I mean, once again, you've got that rigidity in the rail, so when you move it to a distance and let go of it, it doesn't just move when you fire it. It's actually got a little stiffness in there. You can lock it down, which is nice, but I've used black gold a lot over my life, and I never lock them down. I always leave them loose. Even when I'm shooting multiple arrows at the same thing, I don't lock them down, and I personally want to be able to do that and continue to do that. So my only nitpick, which actually, you know what? I misspoke earlier. Let me try this real quick, folks. You might be able to 0-stop 20 this thing because it looks like it does slide up and down on the rail, and I overlooked that at first. So let me look at this. Yep. Yep. If this does what I think it does. Yep. There's another screw. Yep. You can officially 0-stop this sight. So those 4 screws hold this rail on the other rail, so you can move them up and down to whatever distance you want and effectively set your 20 at the maximum upward movement. So let's recap. Really small, skinny pins on a 3-pin adjustable, which if you want to shoot a 3-pin slider, man, I'd really have a hard time not recommending this right here because how small and skinny those are. So it does look like 1 pin with 3 dots on it, where a lot of them look like a big bar. So you've got that. You've got way lighter than other adjustments. Has legitimate, authentic first, second, and third adjustments. Have the ability to move the head up to a 0-stop 20. Has a coarse adjustment and a fine adjustment. I don't know what more you want this sight to do, people. Really, I don't. These are pretty freaking incredible, and I want to say I don't have the prices in front of me, but I think they're not super expensive if I remember right. I mean, compared to other things that you may be looking at. They also make a Picatinny mount adapter, which we also have those on the website, but that's so you can go directly to your pick and still just unbolt your mount base here. So if you go this route, just buy the standard direct mount version and buy the Picatinny adapter, you're good to go. You will need to buy the dovetail version if you're going to go with a bridge lock because of the way the bridge lock attachment sits. So you need to have purchased the dovetail version, not the direct mount version. I guess if I had to nitpick one thing, to be honest, which it's kind of hard to do, but the bridge lock fitment's kind of loose. To have made this specifically for Matthews but not addressed this being a good snug fit like most people have, kind of an oversight, an overlook. Maybe they weren't thinking about it or maybe they rushed it out. I'm not sure. That could have been addressed a little differently, but outside of that, honestly, I'm not sure what the heck else to say here. It's pretty freaking impressive, really, just to be honest. But, you know, time will tell on using them because they are new on what the durability is like. But I know CBE in the past had pretty good durability. We didn't personally have issues with them. So hopefully by the time we release this video, these are actually in stock and on the website and you can take a look at them. But this one has really piqued my interest a lot, and I'm pretty excited to play with it a little bit because for an open country running and gunning elk hunting mule deer type setup, That sight picture is beautiful. This not being so big, you don't need a giant peep. They just did a lot of stuff right, so good job CBE. I have to say some good stuff there. Head on over to podiumarcher.com for all your archery needs, including hopefully these by the time this comes out. $99 and up is free shipping. Comment down below on what you think of this video and what I missed or what I should have talked about or what I didn't do, because you all got opinions and I don't mind hearing them. Head on over to the Instagram. Make sure to follow along there. The giveaways are coming, and they're coming really quick, but there's kind of a curveball, so keep watching. There'll be a video to explain that a little bit better. Thanks for checking us out.